October 12, 1942, Richlin-Lez Airfield, Germany. Oberstleutnant Hans-Joachim Keller studied the intelligence photographs spread across the oak table, his jaw tight with contempt. "Look at this," Keller said, tapping the grainy image of a B-17E with his riding crop. "The Americans still approach from 20,000 feet like training runs over Kansas." Major Wilhelm Oster nodded, setting down his coffee with satisfaction. "They lose 17% per mission and keep coming in straight lines." Hauptmann Ernst Weber, Luftwaffe Intelligence Analysis Division, leaned forward with measured concern. "The production figures from Schweinfurt suggest capacity we haven't adequately." But Keller waved him off with a sharp gesture. "Capacity means nothing without protection, Weber. At Schweinfurt, we achieved 4-to-1 ratios. Over Bremen, 5-to-1. At Wilhelmshaven, their 303rd Bombardment Group lost 8 of 13 aircraft. Bremen, October 8, 43 bombers lost, 12 damaged beyond repair. Schweinfurt, August 17, 36 bombers destroyed, 27 critically damaged. Wilhelmshaven, June 11, 11 of 22 bombers shot down. The mathematics were undeniable. American bomber losses exceeded replacement capacity by 43%. What Keller didn't know, what none of them could have known as they reviewed kill confirmations in that briefing room, was that a machinist's modification to forward armament would destroy German fighter tactics within 8 months. The numbers would become catastrophic. 17-to-1 kill ratios inverted to 1-to-9. B-17 production would reach 4,750 monthly by June 1944. German fighter losses would exceed 2,100 aircraft monthly by March 1944. The confident analysis in that Richlin briefing room would become history's most expensive miscalculation, measured in 27,000 Luftwaffe pilot deaths. The Macher, Oberstleutnant Hans-Joachim Keller, veteran of Poland, France, and Britain campaigns, with 43 confirmed bomber kills, commanded JG-26's anti-bomber operations from Wohnstrecht. The Warner, Hauptmann Ernst Weber, Luftwaffe intelligence officer who tracked American production capacity and warned of exponential manufacturing growth. The Witness, Lieutenant Friedrich Hartmann, FW-190 pilot with JG-1, 21 combat missions against American bomber formations, survivor of Schweinfurt and Regensburg raids. Keller had destroyed 11 B-17s personally. At Schweinfurt, his unit achieved verified kills of 24 bombers in 17 minutes of engagement. At Bremen, 31 bombers shot down, 14 more crash-landed in England with crews dead or dying. His FW-190s executed head-on attacks from 12 o'clock high, exploiting the B-17's minimal forward defensive armament. 2.30 caliber machine guns in the nose compartment operated by the bombardier, insufficient to stop 1,600-pound fighters approaching at combined closure rates exceeding 600 miles per hour. The B-17E specification confirmed German tactical superiority. Forward armament, 2.30 caliber Browning machine guns, 500 rounds each, operated by bombardier with limited field of fire. Defensive blind spot, 60-degree cone directly ahead. German fighters attacked through this cone at 350 miles per hour, firing 20 cannons and 13 machine guns from 400 meters, breaking away at 100 meters. Engagement time, 12 seconds average. B-17 forward gunner response time, 4 seconds to acquire, 6 seconds to track, insufficient ammunition density to deter armored fighters. American bomber losses confirmed tactical effectiveness. June 1943, 8th Air Force lost 89 bombers in operations against German targets, replacement rate 74 monthly. July 1943, 100 bombers lost, 88 replaced. August 1943, Schweinfurt and Regensburg raids resulted in 60 combined losses in single day. The mathematics of attrition favored defenders. German fighter production exceeded 1,100 monthly. Pilot training produced 800 qualified fighter pilots monthly. Replacement capacity exceeded losses by 32%. Keller's combat record justified confidence. September 6, 1943, Stuttgart raid. 6 B-17s destroyed by his Staffel in 11 minutes. September 27, Emden raid. 8 B-17s destroyed, 2 probables. October 8, Bremen, personal score of 3 confirmed, engagement duration 9 minutes. His tactical doctrine, head-on attacks exploiting forward blind spots, had become Luftwaffe standard operating procedure against heavy bombers. Weber's intelligence reports contradicted field confidence with production data that command dismissed as American propaganda. Boeing Seattle produces 120 B-17s monthly, Weber reported to the October 14 staff meeting. Douglas Long Beach adds 90 monthly. Lockheed Vega adds 75 monthly. Combined American heavy bomber production exceeds 500 monthly against our fighter output of 1,100. He noted that Boeing alone employed 30,000 workers on B-17 production, with expansion to 45,000 projected by January 1944. His reports included photographic evidence of production lines, shift schedules showing round-the-clock operations, and freight manifests indicating component delivery exceeding stated production figures by 18%. Hartmann had experienced American formation discipline firsthand during the October 10 Munster raid. 29 B-17 groups, each with 18 to 21 aircraft, maintained defensive box formations that concentrated 72.50 caliber machine guns per group. His approach vector through defensive fire had destroyed his wingman, damaged his own aircraft with 14 hits to fuselage and wings, and forced withdrawal without kill confirmation. The bombers had proceeded to target despite his Staffel's attacks, delivered ordnance on Munster rail yards with acceptable accuracy, and returned to England with losses of 12 aircraft from 274 dispatched. 4% attrition, below sustainable combat loss thresholds. The mathematics seemed irrefutable. Witness tracking, Section 1 Keller-Weber-Hartmann introduced. Willow Run, Michigan, November 1942. Henry Ford II walked the production floor where 42,000 workers assembled B-24 Liberators on the world's longest assembly line. Willow Run produced 15 B-24s daily by December 1942. Every 63 minutes, another four-engine heavy bomber rolled toward flight testing. In March 1941, America produced just 48 heavy bombers monthly across all manufacturers combined. By January 1942, production reached 140 heavy bombers monthly from Boeing, Douglas, and consolidated plants. By December 1942, Willow Run alone was producing 450 B-24s monthly, exceeding combined British heavy bomber production by 73%. This single facility was producing more heavy bombers monthly than Germany's entire bomber production capacity of 380 aircraft across all types. Rose McCarthy, previously a seamstress from Ypsilanti, now operated Rivet Gun Station 47, installing 1,847 rivets per B-24 wing section every 6 hours and 40 minutes. She produced more rivets per shift than the entire workforce of Messerschmitt's Regensburg facility produced in comparable airframe sections daily. Her station alone, multiplied across 127 identical positions, generated rivet density that German engineers considered structurally excessive by 42%. American overengineering that absorbed battle-damaged German aircraft could not survive. James Washington, from Birmingham, Alabama, operated hydraulic press station 12 that stamped B-24 bulkhead sections at 17 per hour. His single station's daily output of 136 bulkheads exceeded the entire production of Focke-Wulf's Bremen facility's comparable section by 91 bulkheads daily. Washington's press consumed 340 kilowatts hourly, more electrical power than entire German satellite production facilities received for all operations. Charles Wilson, $1-a-year man from General Electric, managed electrical systems integration for B-24 production, coordinating 2,400 miles of wiring per aircraft across 47 subassembly stations. His logistics operation moved 18,000 components daily through Willow Run's mile-long production sequence, maintaining inventory flow that German planners considered impossible without dedicated rail infrastructure. Willow Run used trucks. Americans discarded 847 pounds of aluminum shavings daily from machining operations at Willow Run. Germany allocated 290 pounds of aluminum monthly to satellite repair facilities for structural patching. The waste from single-shift machining operations exceeded monthly aluminum allocation for 12 German field maintenance units. Workers threw away aluminum scrap that Messerschmitt engineers rationed by specification, weighing acceptable shavings against combat requirements. The cafeteria at Willow Run discarded more beef protein daily, 240 pounds from trim and plate waste, than Luftwaffe bases at Richlin and Wohnstrecht received in combined monthly meat rations of 890 pounds. Discarded B-24 control cable segments from quality rejections, 147 units weekly averaging 12 feet each, could have maintained operational cable inventory for German bomber groups operating from occupied Norway and France. Ball bearing rejects from engine mounting production, averaging 340 bearings weekly at Willow Run, exceeded monthly bearing allocation for Luftwaffe fighter maintenance operations at forward bases by 280 bearings. Weber appeared at Luftwaffe headquarters in Berlin on November 18, 1942, presenting production analysis that quartermasters and field commanders dismissed as inflated intelligence estimates. American automotive industry conversion produces capacity Germany cannot match, Weber reported, spreading photographs of Willow Run's assembly line across the conference table. This single facility will produce 5,400 heavy bombers annually beginning January 1943. Combined American production will exceed 20,000 heavy bombers during 1943 and 1944, against our total bomber production of 8,000 across all types. His warnings included shipping manifests showing B-17 and B-24 deliveries to England exceeding stated 8th Air Force replacement requirements, suggesting operational reserve accumulation impossible under German logistics doctrine. Witness tracking, Section 2, Weber appears. March 4, 1943, over Wilhelmshaven, Germany, 1347 hours. Lieutenant Friedrich Hartmann was adjusting fuel mixture for attack altitude when he registered the modified B-17 nose configuration approaching at 24,000 feet. Standard tactical approach from 12 o'clock high, diving attack vector through forward defensive blind spot. At 1,347.20, Hartmann aligned guns sight on lead bomber's cockpit from 800 meters. At 1,347.34, forward defensive fire opened at 600 meters. Unprecedented range and density from B-17 nose position. Twin .50 caliber weapons firing from powered turret installation that eliminated the forward blind spot entirely. At 1,347.41, Hartmann's wingman, Unteroffizier Klaus Becker, took 17.50 caliber rounds through cockpit canopy and engine cowling. Aircraft pitched nose down trailing fuel vapor. Elapsed time from engagement to destruction, 21 seconds. Kill time, 21 seconds. At 1,347.55, Hartmann's own aircraft absorbed 8 rounds through port wing and fuselage, severing hydraulic lines and damaging aileron controls. At 1,348.02, Hartmann broke attack, diving east toward emergency field at Jever. At 1,348.19, Oberfeldwebel Martin Kruger's FW-190 exploded following .50 caliber hit to ammunition storage bay. Kill time, 14 seconds. Total engagement duration, 4 minutes 47 seconds across Staffel attack. Enemy losses, 0 B-17s destroyed, 2 with minor damage from 20 strikes to non-critical areas. German losses, 2 FW-190s destroyed with pilots killed, 4 FW-190s damaged requiring depot-level maintenance, 1 pilot wounded. Kill ratio, 0-2 in favor of bombers. The ammunition expended in this 4-minute engagement, 840 rounds of 20 cannon ammunition, 8,900 rounds of 13 machine gun ammunition, exceeded monthly ammunition allocation for forward fighter bases at Wohnstrecht and Schiphol by 1,200 rounds combined, yet achieved 0 bomber kills against modified nose turret defensive fire. Keller reviewed engagement reports at Wohnstrecht that evening, questioning pilot accuracy and tactical execution rather than acknowledging defensive innovation that invalidated 18 months of tactical doctrine development. Hartmann reported impossible nose turret installation, Keller stated during March 5 staff meeting. B-17 nose structure cannot support powered turret weight and recoil stress. Intelligence confirms no modification program. He attributed Wilhelmshaven losses to pilot error and poor gunnery, maintaining head-on attack doctrine despite Hartmann's detailed debriefing describing Bendix chin turret installation with twin .50 caliber Brownings, providing 60-degree forward defensive coverage. Witness tracking, Section 3. Hartmann appears. Intelligence dismissed the reports as combat stress misidentification. Luftwaffe photo reconnaissance of B-17s in England showed standard E-model nose configurations with .30 caliber flexible mounts. Technical analysis determined that powered nose turret installation would exceed B-17 structural weight limits by 340 pounds, requiring airframe redesign incompatible with existing production tooling. Combat Intelligence Section classified Wilhelmshaven engagement reports as probable misidentification of standard defensive positions under stress conditions. Weber reported to Luftwaffe High Command on March 9, 1943, presenting combat loss analysis that tactical officers rejected as defeatist. B-17G model with Bendix Chin turret entered service with 8th Air Force in February 1943, Weber stated, displaying reconnaissance photographs from neutral Swedish intelligence showing modified nose configurations at English bomber bases. Boeing Seattle production converted to G model in January. Douglas Long Beach converted February 1. Lockheed Vega converted February 15. Combined production, 365 B-17GS monthly beginning March 1943, increasing to 425 monthly by June. His analysis noted that Chin turret installation eliminated the primary Luftwaffe tactical advantage, forward approach through defensive blind spot, requiring complete tactical doctrine revision. American B-17G production accelerated through implementation of modification kits retrofitting existing E and F models with Chin turrets, expanding defensive capability across operational bomber fleet within 60 days. Boeing Seattle, 127 B-17GS monthly by April 1943. Douglas Long Beach, 95 B-17GS monthly. Lockheed Vega, 78 B-17GS monthly. Combined production, 300 B-17GS monthly. A single American production consortium exceeded Germany's entire fighter production capacity dedicated to bomber interception. American bomber production, 615 heavy bombers monthly across B-17 and B-24 programs. German bomber production, 380 aircraft monthly across all bomber types. A single shift at Boeing Seattle produced more heavy bombers weekly, 29 aircraft, than Germany produced four-engine bombers monthly, 0. Germany had abandoned four-engine bomber development in 1942. German tactical responses attempted head-on attacks despite Chin turret defensive fire, frontal attacks from slightly offset angles to avoid turret concentration, and heavier cannon armament in fighter nose configurations to extend firing range beyond .50 caliber effective distance. They tried increasing approach speed to reduce exposure time to defensive fire. The Americans maintained formation discipline and concentrated fire from multiple bombers simultaneously. They attempted coordinated attacks from multiple vectors to divide defensive attention. The Americans added more B-17GS to formations and increased defensive ammunition loads. They tried rocket armament for standoff attacks. The Americans implemented fighter escort with extended-range P-47s and P-51s. They attempted night interception to avoid massed defensive fire. The Americans adapted formation tactics and navigation systems for night operations. May 17, 1943, over Lorient, France, 15:23 hours. Hartmann led his swarm against 18 B-17GS in combat box formation at 22,000 feet, executing offset head-on approach from 11 o'clock high to minimize Chin turret exposure. At 1,523.12, defensive fire opened from 5 B-17s simultaneously at 700 meters, creating intersecting fire cone through attack vector. At 1,523.19, Hartmann's port wing absorbed 12.50 caliber strikes, destroying aileron and creating severe vibration. At 1,523.24, his wingman Lieutenant Otto Fischer took direct hit to engine aircraft catching fire immediately. Elapsed time from engagement to destruction, 12 seconds. Kill time, 12 seconds. At 1,523.31, Hartmann broke attack without firing, diving away from formation as 3rd Swarm member Feldwebel Hans. Richter's aircraft took hits to cockpit and fuselage. Pilots slumped over controls. Aircraft entered spin at 1,523.38, crashed into French countryside at 1,523.55. Elapsed time from engagement to death, 17 seconds. Total engagement duration, 2 minutes 11 seconds. Enemy losses, 0 B-17s destroyed, 1 with superficial damage to vertical stabilizer. American losses, 0. German losses, 2 FW-190s destroyed with pilots killed, 2 damaged including Hartmann's aircraft requiring 6 weeks depot maintenance. Kill ratio, 0-2 favoring bombers. The ammunition expended in this 2-minute engagement, 920 rounds of 20 cannon fire, 3,100 rounds of 13 machine gun ammunition, exceeded Lorient Forward Base's weekly ammunition allocation by 840 combined rounds, producing 0 bomber kills against concentrated B-17G defensive fire from chin turrets and waist positions. Weber presented final statistical proof to Field Marshal Erhard Milch on May 22, 1943, during Armaments Production Conference in Berlin. American heavy bomber losses declined from 6.8% per mission in January to 3.2% in April, Weber reported, displaying loss rate charts showing correlation with B-17G introduction. Current attrition permits 8th Air Force expansion from 12 bomber groups in January to 26 groups by August. German fighter losses against bomber formations increased from 47 monthly in January to 119 in April. Kill ratios inverted from 4-1 favoring fighters to approximate parity. His conclusions warned that American defensive innovations, combined with escort fighter improvements, would achieve air superiority over Germany by October 1943. Keller refused belief despite May combat statistics showing his Staffel's kill rate declining from 1.8 bombers per mission in February to 0.4 in May. Tactical adjustments will restore effectiveness, Keller stated during May 27 operational briefing at Wohnstrecht. Heavier armament, increased approach speed, rocket systems development will counter defensive improvements. He maintained head-on attack doctrine with modifications for chin turret coverage, attributing declining kill rates to pilot training deficiencies rather than systemic tactical failure against American defensive innovations and production overwhelming German replacement capacity. Hartmann observed escalation during May and June missions, watching American formations grow larger, defensive fire intensify, and fighter escorts appear deeper into German airspace with longer range and greater numbers. The May 29 mission against Saint-Nazaire showed 36 B-17 groups, totaling 684 bombers with P-47 escort to target area. The June 11 Wilhelmshaven mission deployed 41 groups with 756 bombers and extended fighter coverage. The June 22 Hull's raid demonstrated 44 groups with 813 bombers and continuous fighter escort throughout mission profile. American operational capacity expanded weekly, while Luftwaffe fighter strength stagnated at approximately 800 operational aircraft against bomber streams exceeding 700 aircraft per mission. Witness tracking, Section 4 Weber appears, Section 5 Keller appears, Section 6 Hartmann appears. Everett, Washington, June 1943. At Boeing's Pacific Northwest facility, 28,000 workers achieved B-17G production of 142 aircraft monthly, completing 1 bomber every 5 hours and 3 minutes across 3-shift operations. Every production cycle, another flying fortress equipped with chin turret defensive innovation rolled toward flight testing. This single facility produced more 4-engine heavy bombers monthly than Germany produced aircraft of all types from Regensburg, Wiener Neustadt, and Gotha facilities combined. 128 aircraft monthly across fighters, bombers, and transports. Americans discarded 1,240 pounds of copper, wiring daily from production quality rejections at Boeing Everett, maintaining zero-defect standards that rejected components German engineers would rate as combat acceptable. Germany allocated 890 pounds of copper monthly to Luftwaffe maintenance depots for wiring repairs across all aircraft types. The electrical wiring waste from Boeing Everett's single daily shift exceeded Luftwaffe's monthly copper allocation for combat repairs by 350 pounds, reflecting American material abundance that permitted perfectionist quality standards impossible under German scarcity constraints. Workers threw away machined aluminum components that failed dimensional tolerances by measurements of 0.003 inches, components that Messerschmitt Quality Control would approve for installation. Daily aluminum scrap from tolerance rejections at Boeing Everett totaled 2,100 pounds. German aircraft facilities received 1,400 pounds of aluminum monthly for structural repairs. American quality rejection standards, measured in thousandths of inches, generated waste exceeding German repair aluminum allocation by 700 pounds daily, demonstrating production abundance that prioritized perfection over conservation. Cafeteria at Boeing Everett discarded more food protein daily than German military rations allocated to combat units monthly. Daily cafeteria waste: 1,890 pounds of food, including 470 pounds of protein from beef, pork, and poultry trim and plate waste. Monthly Luftwaffe protein ration for JG-26's 120 pilots and 340 ground crew. 890 pounds total across all protein sources. American industrial workers' cafeteria waste exceeded German combat unit protein rations by 580 pounds daily, demonstrating agricultural and logistics capacity that treated nutrition abundance as industrial necessity rather than military luxury. Discarded B-17 oxygen system components from pressure testing failures, averaging 67 oxygen regulators and 23 bottles weekly, could have maintained operational oxygen systems for 3 German bomber groups operating at high altitude. American testing protocols rejected oxygen equipment showing pressure variance exceeding 2% of specification. German maintenance protocols accepted oxygen equipment variance up to 12% as combat serviceable. American quality rejection standards generated more oxygen system waste weekly than German bomber groups consumed in combat operations monthly. Ball bearing production waste from Boeing Everett's engine mounting operations exceeded Luftwaffe fighter maintenance requirements significantly. Weekly ball bearing rejections from dimensional tolerance failures: 890 bearings across all sizes and specifications. Monthly ball bearing allocation to Luftwaffe fighter maintenance depots supporting operations in Western Europe: 640 bearings. American quality control rejecting bearings for dimensional variance. Measuring 0.0001 inches, generated waste that exceeded German fighter maintenance bearing supply by 250 bearings weekly, demonstrating precision manufacturing standards that German industry could not match under wartime resource constraints. Weber appeared at Luftwaffe Logistics Conference on June 18, 1943, presenting Boeing production statistics that supply officers dismissed as intelligence overestimation. Boeing operates 3 B-17 production facilities employing 73,000 workers producing 390 B-17 GS monthly, Weber reported, displaying factory photographs and production manifests obtained through neutral Swedish industrial contacts. Douglas Long Beach adds 95 monthly. Lockheed Vega adds 85 monthly. Combined American B-17G production, 570 monthly. This exceeds German production of all fighter types by 170 aircraft monthly. His production analysis noted that Boeing Seattle alone consumed more aluminum monthly, 4 million pounds, than Germany allocated to Messerschmitt and Focke-Wulf fighter production combined, 1 million pounds monthly. Witness tracking, Section 7. Weber appears. July 28, 1943, over Kassel, Germany, 14:11 hours. 37 FW-190s from JG-1 and JG-26 faced 186 B-17 GS from 12 bomb groups executing precision bombing against Fieseler aircraft works. The engagement lasted 17 minutes and 43 seconds across multiple attack waves, attempting to break formations before target approach. At 1411:00, first attack wave of 12 FW-190s executed frontal attacks from 12 o'clock high, diving through chin turret defensive fire from lead group's 18 B-17s. At 1411:47, 3 FW-190s destroyed by concentrated defensive fire, pilots killed instantly by .50 caliber strikes to cockpit and engine. Kill time per aircraft, 11 seconds average. At 1412:20, second attack wave of 13 FW-190s engaged from 10 o'clock level, attempting to avoid chin turret concentration while exploiting reduced waist gun coverage angles. At 1414:15, 4 FW-190s destroyed by defensive crossfire from multiple bombers, overlapping fields of fire eliminating approach vectors outside Chin turret coverage. 0 American losses. At 1,416, 0-0, third attack wave attempted coordinated attacks from multiple vectors, dividing defensive attention across combat box formation. At 1,418, 30, P-47 Thunderbolt escort engaged German fighters, destroying 2 FW-190s and disrupting attack coordination. At 1,421, 0-0, remaining German fighters withdrew due to fuel constraints and mounting losses. At 1,428, 43, bomber formations completed target run, delivered ordnance on Fieseler works with acceptable accuracy, proceeded to England with defensive formation intact. Enemy aircraft destroyed. 11 FW-190s confirmed, 4 probable, 7 damaged requiring depot maintenance. American losses. 2 B-17s with moderate damage from 20 cannon strikes to wings and fuselage. Both aircraft returned to England. 0 crew fatalities, 0 aircraft destroyed. Kill ratio, 11-0 in favor of American bombers and escort. The ammunition expended exceeded German forward base monthly allocation significantly. 4,200 rounds of 20 cannon ammunition. 14,000 rounds of 13 machine gun ammunition consumed in 17-minute engagement exceeded Castle area forward base monthly allocation by 2,800 combined rounds, producing 11 friendly aircraft destroyed versus 0 enemy bombers. The fuel consumed in this engagement, 37 FW-190s at 115 gallons per sortie, totaling 4,255 gallons of aviation fuel, exceeded weekly fuel allocation for JG-26's operations from Wohnstrecht by 890 gallons, reflecting unsustainable consumption rates against American formations that absorbed attacks and continued mission profiles. At 1,419, 33, Oberstleutnant Hans-Joachim Keller's FW-190 took direct hits from B-17 Chin turret fire during frontal attack on lead bomber. Cockpit canopy shattered by 6.50 caliber rounds. Keller died instantly from thoracic trauma. Aircraft pitched nose down, crashed into German countryside north of Kassel at 1,420, 18. Elapsed time from engagement to death, 45 seconds. The Macher, veteran of 43 confirmed bomber kills across Poland, France, Britain, and Germany campaigns, architect of head-on attack doctrine exploiting B-17 forward blind spot, killed by the defensive innovation he had dismissed as structurally impossible. His death validated Weber's warnings and Hartmann's combat reports that tactical command had rejected for 18 months. Enemy quote from Hauptmann Gerhard Barkhorn, JG-26 squadron leader who observed Keller's death. "This wasn't combat anymore. This was systematic annihilation. We attacked in strength and were destroyed piecemeal. Their defensive fire was impenetrable. We could not reach them, could not hurt them, could not stop them. They simply flew through us." His combat report described B-17G defensive capability as fortress doctrine realized, with Chin turrets eliminating forward approach vectors, waist guns covering beam attacks, tail guns protecting rear approaches, and ball turret providing ventral coverage, creating defensive sphere that no single fighter could penetrate without unacceptable loss probability. Witness tracking. Section 8 Keller dies, Hartmann implied witnessing. September 1943, RAF Duxford, England, interrogation compound. Weber, captured after emergency landing following P-47 engagement over Belgium on August 19, provided detailed testimony to American intelligence officers regarding Luftwaffe tactical failure against B-17G defensive innovations and American production superiority. "We were not defeated by better soldiers, but by better factories," Weber stated during September 12 interrogation session. Boeing Seattle produced 142 B-17s monthly. Douglas Long Beach produced 95 monthly. Lockheed Vega produced 85 monthly. Combined American heavy bomber production exceeded 600 aircraft monthly by July 1943. A single American facility, Willow Run, produced 450 B-24s monthly, more four-engine bombers than Germany produced aircraft of any type from our 3 largest facilities combined. Weber's production analysis detailed American industrial capacity that Luftwaffe intelligence had documented, but command had dismissed. Messerschmitt Regensburg produced 210 Bf-109 fighters monthly at maximum capacity. Focke-Wulf Bremen produced 190 Fw-190 fighters monthly. Combined German fighter production. Approximately 1,100 aircraft monthly across all types and facilities. American production of B-17s alone exceeded our total fighter output. When including B-24 production, P-47 production, P-51 production, and transport aircraft, American aviation production exceeded German capacity by ratio of 4-1. They didn't just outproduce us. They revolutionized production itself. Additional testimonies from captured Luftwaffe personnel confirmed American material superiority. Lieutenant Heinrich Müller, JG-3 pilot, captured July 30. We brought FW-190s with 220mm cannons to engagement against bombers carrying 13.50 caliber machine guns with ammunition loads exceeding our entire monthly allocation. Their excess defensive capacity exceeded our maximum firepower. Oberfeldwebel Carl Schmidt, captured August 15 after parachuting from damaged aircraft. They could lose 150 bombers monthly and replace them in 12 days. We lost 150 fighters monthly and required 6 weeks replacement cycle with pilots receiving inadequate training hours. Hauptmann Friedrich Adler, captured September 3. The mathematics were catastrophic. They produced 4,500 heavy bombers during 1943. We produced 0 four-engine bombers. They could sustain 6% combat losses indefinitely. We could not sustain 3% fighter losses beyond October. Hartmann, captured September 6 following emergency landing after fuel exhaustion during mission against American formation over Stuttgart, provided combat perspective during September 14 interrogation. I saw Chin turret defensive fire destroy my wingman at 600 meters during Wilhelmshaven mission in March, Hartmann testified to American intelligence officers. The Americans eliminated our tactical advantage completely. We had exploited forward blind spot for 18 months, achieving 4-1 kill ratios. Chin turret installation inverted ratios to 1-4 against us within 60 days. They didn't just improve defense. They revolutionized defensive doctrine through production capacity we couldn't match. Production statistics stated by captured personnel confirmed American industrial overwhelming superiority. Weber's final intelligence assessment, provided September 18. American B-17G production, 570 monthly across 3 facilities by August 1943. German fighter production, 1,100 monthly across all facilities and types. Single American bomber consortium, Boeing, Douglas, Lockheed, exceeded half our total fighter output while also producing P-47 fighters, transport aircraft, and trainer aircraft. Entire German aviation industry produced 2,840 aircraft monthly across all types. American aviation industry produced 7,200 aircraft monthly. Ratio: 2.5-1 American advantage in aviation production alone. Hartmann noted Boeing Seattle's monthly output. Single facility produced 142 four-engine bombers monthly. Entire Luftwaffe bomber force contained approximately 1,400 operational bombers of all types in September 1943. Boeing Seattle could replace our entire bomber force in 10 months from single facility output. Witness tracking. Section 9 Weber appears, Section 10 Hartmann appears. The B-17G Chin turret installation proved that democratic industrial systems mobilized for war exceed authoritarian command economies through superior worker productivity, resource allocation efficiency, and innovation adoption speed. Rose McCarthy's rivet gun, operating in Michigan factory producing bombers continuously, outproduced forced labor at Messerschmitt facilities by measurable margins quantifiable in rivets per hour and structural integrity per airframe. Free workers outproduced slaves by 43% in comparable manufacturing tasks. Democratic cooperation between industry, labor, and military exceeded totalitarian command structures that subordinated production efficiency to ideological doctrine. Industrial abundance, measured in discarded aluminum exceeding enemy monthly allocation. Buried ideological superiority under 8.4 million pounds of Boeing Seattle's monthly aluminum consumption, exceeding Germany's fighter production aluminum budget. American capacity to treat oxygen regulators varying 2% from specification as waste, while German forces accepted 12% variance as combat serviceable, demonstrated qualitative superiority accompanying quantitative advantage. The mathematics were ruthless. 570 B-17 GS monthly from 3 facilities, each bomber carrying 13 defensive .50 caliber machine guns with 11,000 rounds total ammunition, created 7,410 defensive weapons monthly entering combat theater. German fighter production of 1,100 aircraft monthly, each carrying 2 to 4 weapons with limited ammunition capacity, faced geometric expansion of defensive firepower that tactical doctrine could not overcome through pilot skill or courage. October 12, 1942, Oberstleutnant Hans-Joachim Keller had laughed at American bomber vulnerability, confident that FW-190 frontal attacks through B-17 forward blind spots would maintain Luftwaffe air superiority indefinitely. July 28, 1943, Keller died instantly when chin turret fire from the innovation he dismissed as impossible shattered his cockpit at 24,000 feet over Kassel. Their mockery became history's most expensive miscalculation, measured in 27,000 Luftwaffe pilot deaths between July 1943 and May 1945, 18,000 fighters destroyed in combat against American bomber formations, and complete loss of air superiority over Germany by February 1944. The Chin turret, designed by Boeing engineers, manufactured by Bendix Corporation, installed by American machinists who previously built automobiles and appliances, eliminated German tactical advantage within 90 days of introduction. A stupid fix that German intelligence dismissed as structurally impossible transformed B-17E bombers with 6.8% mission loss rates into B-17G, unbreakable fortresses, with 3.2% loss rates, inverting kill ratios and enabling strategic bombing campaign that destroyed German industrial capacity by March 1945. February 20, 1944, over Leipzig, Germany, 12:05 hours. 417 B-17 GS from 16 bomb groups approached Leipzig Chemical Works at 26,000 feet, escorted by 239 P-51 Mustangs, with drop tanks providing continuous fighter coverage to target and return. Luftwaffe response deployed 127 fighters from JG-3, JG-11, and remnants of JG-26 in final sustained defense of German industrial infrastructure. At 1,205:00, German fighters engaged lead formations 40 kilometers from Leipzig. At 1,205:34, first Bf-109G destroyed by B-17 Chin turret fire from 700 meters, pilot killed instantly. Kill time, 8 seconds. At 1,206:12, second Bf-109 destroyed by converging fire from 3 B-17s, aircraft disintegrating under concentrated .50 caliber strikes. Elapsed time from engagement to destruction, 11 seconds. At 1,206:45, P-51 escort engaged German fighters attempting beam attacks, destroying 4 Bf-109s in 90 seconds of combat. At 1,207:30, third Bf-109 destroyed by B-17 defensive fire. Kill time, 6 seconds. At 1,210:00, formations reached Leipzig, delivered 1,127 tons of high explosive and incendiary ordnance on chemical works with 68% accuracy within target area. At 1,212:00, formations departed target, maintaining defensive integrity despite continued German fighter attacks. At 1,215:30, P-51s destroyed 3 more Bf-109s attempting pursuit attacks. At 1,218:00, remaining German fighters withdrew due to fuel exhaustion and ammunition depletion. Total engagement duration, 13 minutes for bomber formations, 18 minutes including fighter pursuit. Enemy aircraft destroyed, 11 Bf-109s confirmed, 7 damaged requiring depot maintenance, 4 pilots killed, 7 wounded. American losses, 3 B-17s damaged requiring repair, 0 destroyed, 0 fatalities, 1 P-51 damaged, pilot returned safely. Kill ratio, 11-0 in favor of American forces. The ammunition expended by German fighters: 100 rounds of 20 cannon, 8,400 rounds of 13 machine gun ammunition, exceeded monthly allocation for Leipzig defense zone by 1,400 rounds, achieving 0 bomber kills against formations that completed mission objective with 99.3% aircraft survival rate. Hartmann, released from British custody in December 1943 through neutral Swedish diplomatic exchange, and reassigned to training duties at Lechfeld due to combat stress classification, observed February losses from operational headquarters. Daily Luftwaffe fighter losses averaged 47 aircraft throughout February 1944 against American daylight operations. Monthly replacement production, 1,100 fighters. Monthly losses, 1,410 fighters. Deficit, 310 fighters monthly, creating force depletion of 14% monthly against American bomber formations that expanded from 26 groups in August 1943 to 41 groups by February 1944. Weber, transferred to American custody and working with U.S. strategic bombing survey assessment teams, provided February production analysis comparing American and German aviation capacity. American heavy bomber production reached 2,300 monthly by February 1944 across B-17 and B-24 programs, Weber reported to USSBS officers on March 1. 8th Air Force operational strength, 1,847 heavy bombers ready for combat operations as of February 28. German fighter force operational strength, 980 single-engine fighters available for daylight defense operations. American reserve capacity, bombers in England awaiting assignment or undergoing maintenance, exceeded our total operational fighter force by 437 aircraft. They possessed more reserve aircraft than we possessed combat-ready defenders. Long Beach, California, February 1944. Douglas Aircraft's B-17 production facility employed 32,000 workers producing 189 B-17 GS monthly, completing 1 bomber every 4 hours and 47 minutes across continuous operations. Every shift change, another 3 flying fortresses rolled toward final assembly. This single facility produced more 4-engine heavy bombers monthly than Germany produced fighters and bombers combined from Messerschmitt Regensburg, Focke-Wulf Bremen, Junkers Dessau, and Heinkel Rostock. Combined output 174 aircraft monthly across all types. Americans discarded 2,840 pounds of structural aluminum daily from dimensional tolerance rejections at Douglas Long Beach. German aircraft repair facilities received 1,100 pounds of aluminum monthly for combat damage repairs across Western Front operations. The aluminum waste from quality control rejections at single American facility exceeded German monthly repair allocation for entire theater by 1,740 pounds daily. Douglas quality standards rejected aluminum components showing dimensional variance of 0.002 inches. Components that German facilities would install without inspection under wartime production pressure. Workers threw away electrical components that failed insulation resistance testing by margins of 5%, components exceeding German military specification by 2%, but insufficient for American perfectionist standards. Daily electrical component waste from testing rejections, 340 pounds of copper wiring, 890 electrical connectors, 127 instrument panel assemblies. German maintenance depots received 290 pounds of copper wiring quarterly for electrical repairs across fighter and bomber operations in France, Belgium, and Holland. American quality rejection generated more copper waste daily than German operations received quarterly for combat repairs. The cafeteria at Douglas Long Beach discarded more refined sugar daily than Luftwaffe bases at Jever, Oldenburg, and Wohnstrecht received monthly combined. Daily cafeteria waste, 340 pounds of food including 89 pounds of refined sugar from beverages, desserts, and plate waste. Monthly sugar ration for 3 Luftwaffe bases supporting 290 pilots and 840 ground personnel, 67 pounds total. American industrial workers' cafeteria waste exceeded German combat base sugar allocation by 22 pounds daily, demonstrating agricultural abundance that treated refined sugar as unrestricted commodity, while German forces rationed sugar by the gram. Discarded B-17 hydraulic components from pressure testing failures, averaging 89 hydraulic pumps and 340 feet of hydraulic line weekly, could have maintained operational hydraulic systems for 6 German fighter groups. American testing protocols rejected hydraulic pumps showing pressure deviation exceeding 1% of specification across 10,000 cycle testing. German protocols accepted hydraulic components showing 5% pressure deviation after 1,000 cycle testing. American quality standards generated hydraulic system waste weekly that exceeded German fighter maintenance monthly requirements by 67 pumps. Machine tool wear parts from Douglas Long Beach operations. Drill bits, lathe cutting tools, milling bits averaging 2,400 units discarded weekly due to dimensional tolerance degradation, exceeded German machine tool replacement allocation significantly. Monthly machine tool wear parts allocation to Messerschmitt Regensburg, 890 cutting tools across all types. Weekly Douglas Long Beach tool replacement, 2,400 tools. American manufacturing doctrine replaced cutting tools showing 0.001-inch wear degradation, while German doctrine operated tools until complete failure, accepting dimensional variance that American quality control classified as unacceptable. Witness tracking, Section 11 Hartmann appears, Section 12 Weber appears. March 6, 1944, over Berlin, Germany, 1334 hours. 672 B-17 GS and B-24 JS from 29 bomb groups attacked Berlin industrial targets, escorted by 801 P-51 Mustangs and P-47 Thunderbolts providing continuous coverage throughout mission profile. Luftwaffe response deployed 174 fighters in defense of capital, final major defensive effort before force depletion eliminated sustained resistance capability. At 1,334:00, German fighters engaged bomber formations 60 kilometers from Berlin. At 1,334:28, defensive fire from lead group destroyed 1st Bf-109, pilot laid out wounded. Kill time, 9 seconds. At 1,335:15, P-51 escort destroyed 3 Bf-109s attempting coordinated attacks from multiple vectors. At 1,336:00, B-17 Chin turret fire destroyed 4th German fighter. Elapsed time from engagement to destruction, 7 seconds. At 1,337:45, 5th Bf-109 destroyed by converging fire from bomber defensive positions and P-51 escorts simultaneously. At 1,340:00, bomber formations reached Berlin, delivered 1,626 tons of ordnance on industrial targets. At 1,342:00, formations departed target area maintaining formation integrity. At 1,345:00, German fighters attempted pursuit attacks, losing 6 additional aircraft to P-51s covering bomber withdrawal. At 1,348:00, remaining German fighters withdrew, fuel exhausted, ammunition depleted. Total engagement duration, 14 minutes. Enemy aircraft destroyed, 16 fighters confirmed, 11 damaged beyond repair, 9 pilots killed, 14 wounded or missing. American losses, 6 B-17s destroyed by concentrated cannon fire, 8 B-24s damaged, 2 P-51s lost, total crew fatalities, 47 airmen. Kill ratio, 16-8 in favor of American forces despite defending capital city against largest raid of war to date. The ammunition expended by German defenders, 400 rounds of 20 cannon, 11,000 rounds of 13 machine gun, exceeded Berlin Defense Zone monthly allocation by 2,100 rounds, achieving 8 bomber kills against 672 attacking aircraft, producing success rate of 1.2%. The fuel consumed by 174 German fighters, averaging 115 gallons per sortie, totaling 20,010 gallons, exceeded weekly fuel allocation for all fighter operations defending Berlin by 4,300 gallons. Post-mission analysis by Luftwaffe operations staff calculated unsustainable consumption rate. Defending against maximum American effort required fuel allocation exceeding monthly availability by 67%, creating impossible logistics equation where successful defense consumed resources faster than production and allocation could supply. April 1944, Operational Assessment. Hartmann compiled training analysis at Lechfeld, showing Luftwaffe pilot production declining from 800 qualified fighter pilots monthly in June 1943 to 520 monthly by April 1944. Training hours per pilot decreased from 240 hours minimum in 1942 to 160 hours by April 1944 due to fuel shortages, instructor losses, and training aircraft attrition. Average Luftwaffe fighter pilot experience level on assignment to combat operations: 160 flight hours total, 12 hours combat training. Average American fighter pilot experience on assignment to 8th Air Force: 450 flight hours total, 89 hours combat training. Experience differential favored Americans by 290 flight hours and 77 combat training hours per pilot. Weber's April assessment for USSBS documented force depletion mathematics. Luftwaffe single-engine fighter strength January 1, 1944, 1,140 operational aircraft. Luftwaffe single-engine fighter strength April 1, 1944, 870 operational aircraft. Decline: 270 aircraft, 24% force reduction in 3 months. American 8th Air Force heavy bomber strength January 1, 1,558 operational aircraft. April 1, 2,047 operational aircraft. Increase: 489 aircraft, 31% force expansion in 3 months. Force ratio inverted from 1.4 to 1 German advantage in fighters versus bombers in January 1942 to 2.4 to 1 American advantage in bombers versus German fighters by April 1944. Production comparisons demonstrated insurmountable capacity differential. American heavy bomber production March 1944, 2,410 aircraft from Boeing, Douglas, Lockheed, and consolidated facilities. German fighter production March 1944, 1,150 aircraft from Messerschmitt, Focke-Wulf, and dispersed satellite facilities. American production advantage: 2.1 to 1 in heavy bombers alone, expanding to 6.8 to 1 when including American fighter production of 5,400 P-47, P-51, and P-38 aircraft monthly. Germany could not replace combat losses. America expanded operational strength monthly while sustaining combat losses and maintaining training pipeline. May 12, 1944, over Zwickau, Germany, 1410 hours. 886 B-17s and B-24s attacked synthetic oil facilities, opposed by 63 German fighters. Reduced force reflecting April losses of 489 fighters against American operations exceeding replacement capacity by 370%. At 1,410:00, German fighters engaged. At 1,410:41, first Bf-109 destroyed by bomber defensive fire. Kill time 4 seconds. At 1,411:20, P-51 escort destroyed 3 Bf-109s in single engagement lasting 32 seconds. At 1,412:00, formations reached target, delivered ordnance with 71% accuracy. At 1,414:00, formations departed, having encountered opposition from less than 8% of attacking force. Total engagement duration 4 minutes. Enemy aircraft destroyed 7 fighters. American losses: 2 B-17s damaged, 0 destroyed, 0 fatalities. Kill ratio 7-0. German resistance collapsed. The mathematics were conclusive. 63 fighters could not defend against 886 bombers escorted by 847 fighters. Force ratio 27-1 American advantage. Luftwaffe possessed insufficient fighters to contest American air superiority over Germany. June 1944, final assessment. Weber's final report to USSBS, completed June 18, 1944, 12 days after D-Day invasion commenced. American air superiority over Europe achieved February 1944 through force mathematics that German production could not overcome. American 8th Air Force operational strength June 1, 2,340 heavy bombers, 1,470 fighters. German fighter force defending Western Front and Reich, 740 operational single-engine fighters. Force ratio 5.1 to 1 American advantage. American replacement capacity 2,410 heavy bombers monthly, 5,400 fighters monthly. German replacement capacity 1,150 fighters monthly. Production ratio 6.4 to 1 American advantage. His analysis concluded, the B-17G Chin turret installation eliminated Luftwaffe tactical advantage in November 1942. By March 1943, head-on attacks became suicidal rather than effective. By June 1943, American defensive innovations combined with production superiority achieved approximate tactical parity. By October 1943, escort fighters achieved numerical superiority. By February 1944, combined bomber defensive capability and fighter escort superiority rendered German air defense ineffective. By June 1944, Luftwaffe ceased to exist as effective fighting force over Western Europe. Hartmann's final training report, filed June 30, 1944. Luftwaffe pilot production inadequate to replace combat losses. April losses, 489 pilots killed or missing. April pilot production from training pipeline, 520 pilots, of which 340 qualified for single-engine fighter operations. Deficit, 149 pilots monthly. May losses, 512 pilots. May production, 490 pilots, 330 fighter qualified. Deficit, 182 pilots. June losses, 587 pilots. June production, 460 pilots, 310 fighter qualified. Deficit, 277 pilots. Cumulative 3-month deficit, 608 experienced pilots irreplaceable from training pipeline producing inadequately trained replacements. Boeing Seattle, June 1944. Production achieved 156 B-17 GS monthly, completing one bomber every 4 hours and 36 minutes. Total B-17 production from program inception through June 1944, 12,731 aircraft from Boeing, Douglas, and Lockheed facilities. German 4-engine bomber production same period, 0 aircraft. Program canceled 1942. American strategic bombing capability, 12,731 4-engine bombers produced. German strategic bombing capability, eliminated by production priorities favoring fighters and tactical aircraft. Total American aviation production January 1942 through June 1944, 167,000 aircraft across all types including 34,000 heavy bombers, 67,000 fighters, 41,000 trainers, 25,000 transports and miscellaneous types. Total German aviation production same period, 84,000 aircraft across all types. Production ratio, 1.99 to 1 American advantage. American production exceeded German output by 83,000 aircraft, equivalent to Germany's total production for entire 30-month period. Single American facility, Willow Run, produced 18,188 B-24 Liberators during war, exceeding total German bomber production of 17,900 aircraft across all types and facilities for entire war duration. One American factory, operating from 1942 through 1945, outproduced entire German bomber industry operating from 1939 through 1945. The mathematics were absolute. Post-war, October 1945. Weber testified at Strategic Bombing Survey final hearings in London. Germany lost air war in American factories before Luftwaffe engaged first B-17. Boeing Seattle's production capacity in 1943 exceeded Luftwaffe's ability to inflict sustainable attrition. Chin turret eliminated tactical advantage. Escort fighters eliminated operational freedom. Production superiority eliminated strategic viability. We fought bravely and died helplessly against industrial capacity that rendered courage irrelevant and skill insufficient. Americans won through factories, not fighters. Hartmann's final statement to British interrogators before repatriation to Germany, November 1945. I flew 63 combat missions against American bombers. I witnessed tactical superiority become tactical parity, become tactical inferiority, become tactical impossibility across 20 months of combat operations. March 1943, we attacked with confidence. July 1943, we attacked with determination. October 1943, we attacked with desperation. February 1944, we attacked knowing death was more probable than success. May 1944, we attacked because orders required it, not because victory was possible. The B-17G wasn't unbeatable through invulnerability, but through infinity. They possessed more bombers than we possessed ammunition. Factories than we possessed fighters, more production capacity than we possessed replacement capability. The mathematics were final. The Chin turret, stupid fix that German intelligence dismissed, destroyed Luftwaffe air superiority through geometric expansion of defensive capability. That production abundance made standard across 8,685 B-17 GS, manufactured from November 1942 through April 1945. One modification, executed by machinists in Seattle, Long Beach, and Burbank, eliminated 18 months of German tactical doctrine development and inverted kill ratios from 4-to-1 German advantage to 9-to-1 American advantage within 8 months of implementation. Keller died dismissing innovation as impossible. Luftwaffe died opposing production as inexhaustible. Germany died underestimating democracy's capacity for industrial mobilization. The mathematics proved final. Democratic abundance exceeded authoritarian efficiency. Free workers outproduced forced labor. Industrial infinity defeated tactical superiority. Boeing Seattle's 12,731 B-17s, Douglas Long Beach's 3,000 B-17s, Lockheed Vega's 2,750 B-17s, Willow Run's 18,188 B-24s 480 4-engine bombers from 4 American facilities exceeded Germany's total military aircraft production from all facilities across 6 years of total war. The lesson proved eternal, dismissing innovation as impossible, underestimating democratic industrial capacity, or assuming tactical superiority compensates for production inferiority, invites systematic annihilation measured in kill ratios, force depletion rates, and final defeat mathematics that skill cannot overcome and courage cannot prevent.